Exterior farm evening. We see a massive field of yellow wheat / rapeseed sprawled across the landscape. Within it, toiling away, stands Andrew Lance, a well-built farmer. He's in a sweat and grain-stained vest, with denim jeans, a rugged black leather belt with a steel clasp, and hefty leather working boots. Behind him, the sun begins to set slowly, silhouetting it. Crow calls break out in the distance from behind him. He steadily turns around, and we see his son, Billy Lance, a young naive boy with their dog, Lassie. They're chasing away a murder of crows. He squints and proceeds to wipe the sweat from his brow.
Billy, that dog's too friendly to get rid of them pests. Go fetch that old Scarecrow from the barn.
Oh, come on, Dad. We'll get it done.
Lassie wags and pants happily.
I wasn't asking, now get.
Andrew throws his tools down and stands up, stretching his back and cracking his neck left and right. Interior barn evening. We see Billy and Lassie move towards the barn. Billy slides back the door, revealing the mess inside. They enter. Lassie sniffs at the floor and strolls ahead, pulling Billy inside with the chain attached around her collar. Billy follows behind in the dark, fumbling through.
Come on, girl. That old thing has to be here somewhere.
Lassie sniffs at an old tarpaulin, then beams. She barks. Billy hears this and runs over to her.
Oh, good girl, lass.
Billy fusses her and then pulls the tarpaulin, revealing an old decrepit scarecrow. A rotten smell floods the barn from the once stagnant scarecrow. Billy pinches his nose. Lassie barks more. The scarecrow is ripped and torn, straw poking out of it. Its mask is haggard and distressed. It has a massively brimmed hat attached to its head, obscuring a lot of its features.
Jeez. Oh. Smells like something died in here. Come on, girl. Let's get this to pop.
Lassie barks, adjusting to the smell. Billy grabs onto the scarecrow and begins dragging it out of the barn. Exterior farm evening. Lassie runs out of the barn barking. Billy slowly emerges shortly behind, dragging the scarecrow, and he pulls it out of the barn door. He pricks his finger on an element of the scarecrow. He drops it and screams in pain.
Ah! Billy! Oh, god damn it. What have you done now?
Andrew walks over, hesitantly, but quite aggressively in his footsteps, and grabs Billy's hand. He examines it.
Get some cloth round it and put some pressure on that wound. I'll get this hunk of junk up.
Billy runs to the house in the distance. Lassie follows, tail wagging, excited. Andy watches on as he looks down to the scarecrow and sighs.
Never thought I'd see this thing again.
He picks it up, throwing it over his shoulder, and carries it into the field. When he gets further into the wheat, he throws it down and grabs the arms and the frame, pushes it deep into the dirt. He takes a step back and looks up at the scarecrow, into his eyes.
I can see why the birds don't like you.
The setting sun silhouettes the scarecrow, casting a cold shadow onto Andrew. The temperatures lower dramatically. He shivers. Billy and Lass run back up to him. Lassie begins lightly whining and barking at the scarecrow again.
Hop, got my hand fixed.
Good, good. Is the dog mad? This guy's just put her out of a job?
It's for smell, Dad. It's off.
Andrew sniffs, grimaces.
Well, it ain't gonna smell like rosemary or lavender, is it?
He gestures to it.
That mask is probably full of hay. Maybe even some pumpkin bits. The body, more straw and hay. The legs, well...
He looks down at the base of the scarecrow where a skull is attached. He has a strange series of markings engraved into the bone. He crouches to examine it further. He clasps his hands and applies pressure to it and pulls it away from the wood. There's an awful creak from the wood where the skull was, and a black marking stains the surrounding area.
Dad, what's that?
That's unusual. Must have never noticed that before. What do they call it? An antique, maybe? And that means fancy? That means money? I'll sell this in town tomorrow, come the afternoon, but first I need to ask old Nicholas what he thinks it's worth, and what he makes of these strange markings.
Lassie growls aggressively, facing the skull, pulling on her chain. Billy struggles to restrain her.
Dad, I don't know. Lass doesn't like it.
Good. She won't miss it then, will she? Come on, it's time you hit the hay, young man.
They begin to walk back to the house. Lassie is clearly agitated. Behind them, the sun finishes setting. The moon begins to rise. Under the moonlight, a horrifying crow squawk breaks out. They all turn but can't make out what happened.
In, now.
Exterior farm, morning, midday. As the sun rises early, the next morning, Andy is cleaning up before he gets ready to go into town. Billy awakes and stumbles outside looking for Lassie.
Dad, have you seen Lassie? I can't find her anywhere.
Not since I let her out this morning. What is it with that damn dog anyway, keeping us awake all night?
Andy walks away in a huff and grabs his coat. Reveals a bloodied black crow, with its guts spilled out lying on the floor below. Andrew stands above it looking down at it. He looks around, confused. He proceeds to pick it up. He throws it into the nearest dustbin. He then cracks open the door, leaning into the house and shouts,
Billy, there's a fox of something about. When you find her, keep her near. I'm heading into town. You can expect me back late.
Andy walks down the driveway and pulls onto the door of his truck and climbs inside. He begins to drive off. Billy and Andy exchange goodbyes via waving. Billy continues to look for Lassie.
Lassie, where are you, girl?
Andy later passes two individuals on a stretch of road, Mickey and Teddy. Andy rages at them from behind the wheel as they are fooling around in the middle of the road. Mickey, who is lighting his roll-up cigarette with a novelty Zippo lighter, stumbles past the truck just in time to avoid being hit, and Andrew rolls his eyeball.
Goddamn daytime drunks. What's the world coming to?
Billy finishes looking around the house and porch and continues his search outside. He stumbles around in the field searching for his dog. He looks high and low behind many different things, even a rock. He walks into the wheat towards the Scarecrow. No crows can be heard. Eventually Billy realizes that there is only one place that he has not checked. This is the barn. Whilst walking through the field, he looks around and sees that the wind speed has picked up, and cloud cover is rendering the farm under a veil of black. Billy looks at where the Scarecrow is, but that's all that's there. No Scarecrow. Only the post.
Lassie, are you there? Please answer.
Billy approaches the barn. Just. Shivering and scared of the unknown, he moves inside, pushing the door ajar. Billy walks up the path inside to the large hay bales. At the base of them lies Lassie, steadily whimpering, surrounded by an adjacent pool of her blood. We see her stained fur, mottled over puncture wounds in her flesh. Billy instantly falls to his knees. Tears overwhelm his face. He tries to hug and cuddle his dog, providing warmth. Billy is weeping heavily as she takes her last few breaths in his arms. Billy looks up after a minute, seeing the eyes of the Scarecrow. Stumbling over, he begins to try and pull Lassie away from the Scarecrow, pulling at her fur. The Scarecrow stands over Billy, imposing, but not moving. Billy slowly crawls away and barricades himself behind the hay. The tears don't stop. Interior barn, midday afternoon. Billy looks around after hearing a bucket fall over, and unbeknownst to him, the Scarecrow had vanished. Billy grabbed the barn doors and pushes them shut. He pulls up some 2x4s and tries to barricade the door.
It's okay, girl. We'll be safe here. Dad will come save us soon.
Billy hugs his dog in the darkness. There's a bang outside. A crash. Billy looks up, horrified. He peers through the cracks of the door. He sees nothing. Teddy and Mickey crash into his view in the distance. He covers his mouth and falls back. They walk up to the barn, lean against the outside of the barn's main doors. Exterior, farm, late afternoon, evening.
Did you see that old fucker earlier who gave us the finger? Yeah, well, this is his farm.
What a tosser. He needs to screw up when he's, well, you know, not in some big fuck-off metal wagon.
Oh, so you're gonna fight him then?
Yeah, I could take it. I'll give him one of my specials.
Nah. What, with one of them? You couldn't take him.
Oh, like you could.
Yeah, I could. More so than you.
Teddy looks forward, seeing the Scarecrow back on its post.
Fancy some training, so I'm ready for the big guy.
Hold him still.
They slowly climb to their feet and begin drunkenly stumbling towards it, whilst trailing through the wheat, bottles in hand. As evening draws, the sun begins to set. Mickey and Teddy approach the Scarecrow. Mickey stops and looks down to his groin.
Give us a sec. Need a piss.
Teddy squares up to the Scarecrow as the sun gets lower.
How much do you think he lifts?
They laugh.
I don't know. more than you.
Alright, alright. I'll give you this. It smells worse than you.
I can fix that.
Mickey stunters up to the Scarecrow and prepares to urinate on it as the sun sets.
Not in front of me, you degenerate. Anyway, I thought you were Jewish.
Yeah. I just never got the cut. Fine, I'll go with that barn then.
As Mickey finishes his sentence, the Scarecrow's hands twitch slowly. They split open, revealing fingernails. The wind is howling, masking sounds all around. Teddy walks off behind the Scarecrow while Mickey finishes urinating.
Come on, it's bloody freezing.
As the dark shadows creeping closer, Mickey can hear noises close by. He begins to think it is Teddy trying to scare him.
Ted? Wait, Teddy, it's not funny, man. It's hard enough to go when it's this cold. Nothing to hold on to.
Mickey has a shake and turns his head rapidly from side to side. We see Mickey look terrified as he turns his head over his shoulder slowly, followed by his body. Behind him is a looming silhouette, the Scarecrow. Its claws extend, brandishing its knives. It makes one quick swipe at Mickey's lower abdomen. Mickey looks down, shaking in pain. His penis has been cut off, and he lifts his head slowly, looking back up at the Scarecrow. As the blades pierce his throat, crows caw loudly in the distance, masking the sound of Mickey's scream. All goes quiet. Billy gathers the courage and tries to look through a small hole in the wood. Just a crack. As he does, he meets the reflection of the Scarecrow's bloodied fingernails. Billy jumps back, grabbing hold of his mouth, closing his eyes, trying to mask the sound of his panting and adrenaline. The Scarecrow slowly retracts the blades from the wood as they drip blood into the cracks and down the wall. Teddy begins to walk backwards towards the Scarecrow's post, only to discover it has knives now, and his hand is dripping with what looks like blood. Panicked and on alert, instead of investigating further, he spins around, breaking into a sprint towards the barn looking for Mickey. He runs towards the barn door. Behind him, the moon and Scarecrow rise. Interior barn evening. We see Billy crying against the barn door. His very survival depends on his father. We can hear running and panting from outside. Billy cries and hugs his dog closely, tightly. He begins to go pale as he hears steps get closer and closer. He braces, hugging Lassie tighter. Teddy makes it to the barn and sees Mickey's mutilated corpse surrounded by blood and straw. The death straw's calling card. Billy hears distant banging. Teddy is smacking on his front door, screaming for help. Billy inches away to the main door to try and help the man. The knives of the Scarecrow burst through the man's chest in front of Billy's face. Teddy's blood drips slowly off the knives as they retract from his chest. Billy tries to stay as still and silent as possible. Biting and munching can be heard, as well as the flesh being cut. There's a beat. Andrew's truck can be heard. He slowly pulls up. The Scarecrow goes silent. Exterior farm evening. Andrew pulls up to the farm in haste. He sees Teddy's half-bitten and mangled corpse in the track of his headlights. Straw surrounds the corpse. He looks around as the heavy fog begins to roll in. His headlights start to flicker. Andrew walks up to Teddy and picks up a light off of him.
Dad? Is that you? Help, we're stuck in the barn.
Billy! Billy! Quickly, get to the truck!
There's a knocking at the barn door.
Billy! Are you okay?
You got her, Dad.
I'm sorry, Bill. Please, open the door and get in the truck. I'll deal with this.
There's a clunk as Billy takes off the barricade. Andrew pulls away from the door as they open. He grabs an old oil lantern off the wall of the barn. As Billy opens the door, he carries his dog to the safety of his father's truck and proceeds to climb into the back. Andrew lights the lamp with the lighter and turns it up on full, igniting the flame. He's met face to face with the Scarecrow. He prepares to throw it, send it up into a ball of flame. The final stand.
How about a little fight, Scarecrow?